At St Aldan High, rumours of room 204 had been whispered for years. It was said the classroom was cursed, a place where shadows moved without light, and whispers could be heard even when the room was empty. Few dared to enter, and those who did never stayed long. Jake and Leslie, two adventurous teenagers, thought the rumours were nonsense. "Ghosts aren't real," Jake scoffed one evening as they passed the darkened school on their way home. Leslie grinned mischievously. "Let's prove it. We'll spend an hour in room 204 after dark and record everything. We'll be legends." The following night, armed with a flashlight, a camera, and a digital recorder, they slipped into the school. The halls were eerily quiet, their footsteps echoing like distant gunshots. As they reached room 204, Leslie hesitated. The door was slightly ajar, and a faint, icy draft brushed against them. Jake pushed the door open. The classroom was as ordinary as any other: rows of desks, a chalkboard smeared with faded writing, and a single window cracked and grimy. "See, just a boring old room," Jake said, setting up the camera. Leslie walked to the chalkboard and ran her fingers over the dusty surface. "If it's so boring, why does it feel like we're being watched?" Jake rolled his eyes but turned on the recorder. "All right, room 204, he said mockingly. "If there's anyone here, give us a sign." At first, there was nothing. Then, faintly, the recorder crackled and a low whisper emerged. "Get out!" Leslie's eyes widened. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. "Probably interference," Jake said, though his bravado wavered. Suddenly, the flashlight flickered, plunging the room into darkness. A cold wind swept through, and the desks began to scrape across the floor, moving as if guided by unseen hands. Jake and Leslie huddled together, their breaths visible in the freezing air. The chalkboard screeched as words etched themselves onto the surface. "One stays." "What does that mean?" Leslie cried, her voice trembling. Jake grabbed her hand. "We're leaving, now!" But as they turned toward the door, it slammed shut with a deafening bang. A shadowy figure materialized in the corner, its form shifting and writhing like smoke. It pointed at them, its eyes glowing a sinister red. Jake lunged at the door, pounding and kicking, but it wouldn't budge. Leslie screamed as the figure advanced, its twisted hand outstretched. Jake shoved her behind him. "Run if you can!" Before Leslie could react, the shadow surged forward, enveloping Jake. He let out a blood-curdling scream as the darkness consumed him, his body collapsing to the floor. "Leslie!" he gasped, his voice barely audible. "Go!" Tears streaming down her face, Leslie grabbed the recorder and bolted. The door flew open as if granting her escape, and she didn't stop running until she was outside, gasping for air under the cold night sky. The next morning, the police found Jake's lifeless body in room 204. His face was frozen in terror, his skin pale and cold as ice. On the chalkboard, one final message was scrawled: "Lesson learned." Leslie transferred schools a week later, but she never stopped hearing the whispers. Every night, in the stillness of her room, a familiar voice echoed. "One stays. You'll be next."